Hey y'all, I am Dr. G, aka Giselle Angelique Hendy, PhD, and welcome to Community College. So this video is just a run through, a breakdown of what this Dr. G Says Community College YouTube channel is going to be about. I am, if you can't tell, extremely excited to be able to launch this project, something that has been a lifetime in the making. So, what is community college? Well, it's a space where you can see a person that looks like me explaining different aspects and concepts and constructs related to psychology and our well being, right? When you go on YouTube and you search psychology, you search psychology course or anything related to it, it's very, very rare in the search results that you'll see a face that looks anything like mine or hear a perspective other than a typical white male or professional white female. And in getting my PhD a couple of years ago, but in the 20 something years that I've been researching psychology, that I've been studying psychology, I've learned that there are many people that do not look like us that are doing the research, right? You know, typical scientists, if you ask somebody what a scientist look like, they will describe an older white male. But I'm a scientist. I'm a whole scientist. I have the student loan debt and the degree to prove it. The problem with most scientists not looking like us, me, other than a white person, and doing research on non-white people or Black people or people of color, however you want to describe it. I specifically do my research and talk about Black folk. There's a lot of misinterpretation of data. There's a lot of misrepresentation of cultures, a lot of misrepresentation of people. And it's due to ignorance, honestly, because if you don't have any experience in a Black community with a Black family in a Black space, how can you possibly accurately interpret data from tests that weren't even created specifically for Black people in the first place? They were created for the global minority and judged from the perspective of a global minority. And it's not right. I love psychology. I've dedicated literally my entire life. I am obsessed in the best way with learning about people, with learning how people work, and then translating that information into something that people can use to improve their lives. It's my literal soul's purpose and life mission to do this. I am an educator. Unbeknownst to me, many years ago, I found out that I was an educator. I thought I was some big businesswoman or something like that. But when I couldn't find a job coming out of college, I started working as an elementary teacher, elementary school teacher. And I found my calling. Like, I'm supposed to be teaching people. A couple of years later, I transitioned out of the school and into community college. This was before I decided, or how I really decided, that it was finally time for me to go back and get my PhD. But in 2013, I started teaching a psych course at Baltimore City Community College. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is the thing that G is supposed to be doing for the rest of her life. Like, I fell in love. Like, and I made a vow that I would always, 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 always work in a community college setting. Why? Because the university is so pretentious, right? I've taught at universities and at community college, right? And HBCU and PWI. And there's just a certain level of pretense. There's this pretentious nature. Like, when you get to the university level where people can afford, they can afford to go to a 4-year college one way or another, right? So their dedication, their commitment, their desire for knowledge is a little bit different. And you tend to work with typically the same population. 18 to 20 something year olds whose family or self can afford to put you through a private or public 4-year university, right? That's a certain like middle class, it's a certain demographic of people, regardless of race, whatever. There's a certain limitation, honestly, to the people that you can reach at a university. But at a community college, I could have a class that had, really advanced 15-year-old high school students. And in that same class, have an 88-year-old grandmother who's finally getting a chance to go back to school. And I have people not only from this area, from the United States, but I have immigrants from all over the place of all ages that are doctors, possibly where they came from. But because they have to go through the schooling process here again, there's certain requirements that they have to meet. So now they're in my class. The reach, the number, the difference, the variety, the breadth of people that I could reach at a community college and learn from myself. Like I loved having a class with teenagers and great grandparents. Like the kind of conversation, the kind of growth that comes from something like that. It blew my mind. So when I made my exit from academia in 2021, I also kind of made my exit from the States. And it changed my opportunity, right, to continue to teach at a community college unless I did it online. And I've kind of shifted the focus of my career and the things that I choose to do, how I work with people. But this community college thing it's in my soul, it's in my spirit. It's something that I have to do. So here we are. We're launching Dr. G Says Community College on YouTube, where anybody in the world can get to it, right? I'm so excited. Okay. So who am I? Who are you? Who are you to be out here with a YouTube channel, Dr. G? Dr. G, hello, I just said it. No, I'm just joking, but I'm not though. I'm a developmental psychologist. I got my PhD from the Mecca, Howard University, where I finally got an opportunity to study what I wanted to study. You talk to people, other people who have gotten a PhD or gotten very close to getting a PhD that is not white. Many of those people were not able to do the work that they wanted to do. Many of those people were not able to finish their degrees simply because their advisors at school, whomever, decided that no, studying Black people is not important. But why does that even matter? Like, what's the difference between them and everybody else? If you're going to study something, you're going to study something in this realm, right? And especially if you go to a PWI, a predominantly white institution, that's what I mean when I keep saying that. They're not studying Black people. So you have to get in where you fit in. And I'm so grateful to the universe and everybody else and my mom, honestly, for convincing me that Howard was a place that I should be. My mom always said that, like, even when I went to undergrad, she was like, you should be going to Howard. I was like, I'm moving away from here. Like, what's wrong with you? But when I went back to get my PhD, Howard was one of 2 schools that I applied to. The other one was in Chicago. And I don't like the cold, so that wasn't going to work. But I got accepted to Howard, and it was a life-changing experience. And it was definitely everything that I needed in order for me to become the professional that I am today, the psychologist that I am today. So in addition to being able to be at the Mecca, to be at an HBCU or historically Black college/university and study people and things that were of interest to me, I also studied the lifespan. Developmental psychology, most of the research in developmental psychology is related to child psychology, to education, to things relating to the development of the child into an adult. But the breadth of developmental psychology studies literally from the moment of conception, how that embryo develops to a fetus, to birth, through childhood, through adolescence, through adulthood, through middle adulthood, through late adulthood, all the way to death, right? It studies the entire lifespan. And I am fascinated with how our experiences early on in life influence the way we behave and move through the world later on in life, all the way to our death. fascinated by it. And there's so much valuable information that is being hidden, literally. Like the accessibility to this information to regular people, it doesn't really exist outside of, you going to YouTube. And I'm sure you guys have seen the crash course. I've used the crash course in a couple of classes that I taught where it's like, you get 12 minutes and it talks all about one particular topic, which is great because that's a great way for people to get information. But other than, some YouTube places, Psychology Today or something like that, you get very limited information with very limited interpretation and the application of what these things mean to our day-to-day lives. Like, okay, yes, you taught me about this particular concept in psychology and I know what it is, but why is it important? What does that mean to me? How can I use that to then improve my life, my relationships, my family, et cetera, right? This is my goal. This is the point of community college. It's for one, to break the barrier of information, right? You literally have to pay. Like, I am no longer associated with or affiliated with a university, right? So I don't have access to research journals, research articles, literature, the data. I don't have access to that anymore unless I pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars to multiple different subscription sites in order to get to the science, in order to get to the information that we all need in order to really understand ourselves and get to life, right? Like, that's bullshit. I don't know a better way to say it. And this is my community college, so I'm gonna say how I want to say it. But that's bullshit. That literally this information that is supposed to be here to help us improve our lives, to help us be better people, to help us better understand who we are, this information is not accessible. Literally have to pay hundreds of dollars in order to have access, right? And if I were to go back to academia and work for an institution and be suppressed and be pigeonholed and be the token, that way I could have access to this information. But if I choose to use my talents, my energy, my time in order to help the greater good, I have to then sacrifice an exorbitant amount of money in order to get access to this information. And I could, right? But how many of the average people know about, have access to even find it, and then can afford to pay for it? And then scientists write to scientists, right? They write in this, they make up their own words. I make up my own words sometimes, but like the dissemination or the spread or the giving away of this information doesn't really exist in this space in a way that is accessible to everybody. And having my community college on YouTube makes this information available to the masses, to so many people. And then also so many people can hear the perspectives of psychology from someone who is not a typical white male or female scientist. You get to hear it from someone who has studied it, lived it, worked it, shown it. And then now I'm able to interpret and then pass along the vital, the important information, not all of the stuff from a Psych 101 textbook. No, I don't even do that when I'm teaching the class at a school. Like, I'm definitely not going to do that here. But it's so important, especially in the times that we're in. It's October 2023, and we had 2022. I'm looking to the future, October 2022, and we are post-pandemic. We are post massive changes to the basic tenets of life. We're in a recession. We're in a time of inflation. There's just so much going on that people may not even understand. Like, what the fuck's going on with me? Like, I don't even know, right? And I just feel it's so necessary for us to have the tools that we need on a large scale in order for us to make it through this transition with our sanity, with our faith, with our families, with our relationships, right? Intact. We deserve to thrive out of this, not just continue on a space of survival. That is key. It's fundamental. It's foundational to anything that I do. I do this work so we can move from a place of just getting by. And even if you have a lot of money, some of us are still just getting by mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all of that, because we're constantly inundated with shit that we don't know how to deal with, but we don't have an option to not deal with it. Or we do, and then our lives fall apart, but we just kind of figure out a way. Well, I'm here to help provide information so we can figure out the best way to not just get through it, but to grow through it and to thrive at the end of it. Like that. That's why I'm here, y'all. Okay, let me look at my notes. Okay. Okay. So what can you expect? What can you expect from community college? To start, um, there will be short lessons, maybe a little bit longer than the crash course, psychology crash course that you can find here on YouTube. And I encourage you to go look it up if you haven't already. It's an awesome resource for finding out information about specific topics or subjects. It actually basically does like a whole chapter of a psychology 101 or intro psychology textbook in like a 12 minute video. Talks really fast, he has graphics, but it's easy to understand. But this is similar. It has a similar format, but it's a little bit different. I'm going to take smaller chunks of information and explain it, teach it like how I would teach if we were teaching a class, but also in the same way that I would do if I were standing in front of a classroom at a university or a college. I would give examples, right? How does this pertain to your life? I'll tell you how it pertains to mine. I like to talk about, I don't mind providing myself as an example so that people can get get the concept or see how that concept can apply to their own life. In addition to the information and the examples and all of that, there's also a very heavy application point, right? How does this apply to my life? How can I use this information? How is this information important and useful to my day-to-day being, to my day-to-day goings, right? How? Why? I'll tell you. I'll tell you. And I'll also give you specific and particular tools to help you grow. If you are a person that is into growth, that wants to be their best self, there's a whole school of thought. There's a whole perspective in psychology called humanist, or the humanistic perspective of psychology, right? And this is where you find information about Abraham Maslow and Carl Jung. And these psychologists believe that the entire point of our human existence is for us to become our best selves, for us to reach our full potential. That is literally the reason why we come here. And we can interpret that in many ways. And I'm sure that I will over time. I can get real deep into what that reaching your full potential thing is. And I will on one of these lessons, but not right now. I just want to introduce that idea. So this idea of humanistic psychology, or being a humanist, and the essential foundation to that we as people want to be our best selves. And we work throughout our lives to figure out who we present as when we are our best selves, and then making ourselves that person, right? So this community college and the courses that will come will provide strategies, tools, in addition to information, knowledge, and wisdom, to help you actually reach your goals, to reach your potential, to see what you're capable of, and then find a way to get there if you want to go there. This is about life. This is about growth. This is about so much more than just what's offered in a typical introduction to psychology course. I've studied psychology since I was 15 years old. 14 or 15 years old. I started studying psychology in high school. As soon as I could take a course, I took a course. When I was 4 years old, if you asked me what I wanted to be, it was a psychiatrist. I didn't know the difference back then. I don't believe in throwing out medication all willy-nilly. And also didn't want to go to med school. but I thought that I was going to be a psychiatrist, a shrink. I was going to help people figure out what was going on in their head. In my mind, I was sitting in a chair and I had a client laying on a couch, just like you would see in those movies in the 80s, right? Aging myself a little bit, but it's okay. I knew, I know my soul's purpose is this work. I am doing exactly what I knew when I came to this side of the universe and what I know now, right? It's to disseminate this information. It's deeper than just a psychology degree for me. It's deeper than just this information that you find in a textbook or you pay somebody to give you. It's much deeper than that. This is about how our minds, our bodies, and our spirits, our spirituality, the essence of who we are outside of this world, right? We are all individuals that have something, an essence that is unique to just us. And in my not so humble professional studied opinion, there is no separation of your psychology, your spirituality, and your physical body. These three things cannot be considered, they can be considered separately, but an ailment in one space is inevitably linked to an ailment from a different space. And we have to consider all of these things. We have to consider how our being, our holistic being, not just this physical human form that people are able to see, but also the voice that is narrating your life. The voice that is narrating your life, right? Because in the untethered soul, there's a concept, major concept, that your soul is in there and you are that. But we think that oftentimes our thoughts, what's going on in our head, what we hear, that's us. No, if you actually sit back and listen, there's somebody else that's narrating your life. You're there observing, you're hearing it, you're seeing it, but there's some other voice, right? It's still you. But this is the idea that there are multiple layers to your being. And in order to understand psychology fully, you have to approach it from multiple aspects. And for me personally, in the work that I do, in the transformative things that I'm creating for people, there is no separation. If you look at my logo, if you look at my business card, it says psychology, spirituality, and education, because those three things go together for me. I'm an educator at heart, but the foundation of everything I do is from my spiritual connection to divinity, to the universe, to whatever you want to call it. And that is what guides me, what guided me to go and study and become a professional psychologist. It's what guides me to create the tools and the strategies that I do that have been successful with the people that I work with. In addition to teaching, I'll say this here, in addition to teaching, I also see clients individually. I'm an author. I have 2 books that I've published. It blows my mind that I can say those things now, but I walk this walk. I don't just talk it, I walk it. I walk it like I talk it. I live this life. And I used the word wisdom earlier because a lot of what I teach is because I've experienced many, many things and have been blessed and privileged enough to gain all of this knowledge in psychology and also maintain my connection to my spirit, to the divinity of life throughout all of this. And now to amalgamate, to put it all together, to create things for other people that don't have the time, didn't have the interest, don't even know that this is available to them. I am humbled. I am so grateful to be able to do this. I'm trying not to cry right now. So this is a good point for me to end. Welcome to Dr. G's Community College. I'm so happy that you're here. I am floored. I'm ecstatic. I am beyond everything to be able to be in this space, to provide this information, to provide this resource to communities everywhere. Thank you for watching. come back. New episode coming soon. First episode, first class, whatever you want to call it. It's coming soon. We're going to talk about grief. Of course, I'm also a grief counselor. I didn't mention that. I'll put some more information about myself down in the little box, the little info box. You'll find a link to my website, my Instagram page, and whatever other resources that I have available for you guys. I'll link down in that comment box. Please like, subscribe to the channel so you can see. I just said it. Sorry. Okay. Please like, subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified and see whenever there are new courses that are published. Follow me on Instagram. Find me on Facebook. I don't think my Facebook page is active, but follow me on Insta. Click the links, check out my website, buy a book. Yeah, and I'll see y'all soon. Love y'all.